what are some of the symptoms of menopause? And then when should you seek assistance from somebody else?
I think we can't just think of it as symptoms, but also the effect of these symptoms on our lives. So, during this time, if you think about it, perimenopause, women are in their late 30s, 40s, menopause, they're in their 50s. This is also the time of divorce. This is a time of career changes. And so the hormonal changes and the symptoms associated with hormonal imbalance affect your quality of life, but they can also affect your career. They can affect your family life. They can affect a lot of relationships. The other thing is when women go into menopause, that's when our risk of breast cancer increases. That's when our risk of heart disease increases. That's when our risk of stroke increases, our risk of diabetes, because we're more likely to gain weight during that time, our risk of high blood pressure, because when you don't have hormones, it affects your heart negatively. So it's not just feeling good and having great sex that we talk about when we're talking about hormones. We're talking about real quality of life, real relationships, real professional effects that it can have. And then, the whole sexual part, like, to me, sex is a gift. It is a gift from God. It's one of the few gifts that we have that we can enjoy.
It is a gift from God.
A gift from God.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Welcome to the Pay Raise Playbook, where we assist you with getting to the next level personally and professionally by sharing insight with you so you can have the courage and clarity to stop avoiding the hard things and take the actions that scare you. While you're here, go ahead and like and subscribe to this podcast because I am sure you're going to love it. Let's go ahead and get started.
Welcome to the Pay Raise Playbook. I am your host, Christy Rutherford. And today we have the phenomenal, the amazing, the finest wine, Dr. Mia Cowen. Dr. Mia Cowen is the founder and director of the Mibella Wellness Center, an award-winning author, highly experienced doctor, and specialist in gynecology, wellness, weight management, and intimacy. Dr. Cowen provides her patients with considerable expertise across a wide range of treatments, plans, and services. She founded this company, founder, CEO, owner, all of that, and more. In 2010, Mibella Wellness Center has been known for excellence that they deliver to their patients. They have collected multiple awards and accolades over the years, further driving them to provide a higher standard of service to every patient that comes in. So, Dr. Mia, so I've been watching these people, these women getting on my nerves, but you remember when we used to be in the events with CAU, and I used to be sitting there sweating and bust out in sweat. I mean, and I knew what y'all did, right?
Right.
And I used to be like, I don't need that. Y'all be like, y'all need a pellet. Her and her husband Joseph be like, you need a pellet. I'd be like, man, I'm too fine.
I'm too young. I don't need a pellet.
I'm too young for all that. That's for them old women who going through something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And years. Yeah, we met every quarter. I be sitting right beside them. I just bust out, just start sweating, and they be like, "You need a pellet." But I see a lot of women talking about menopause, and they're suffering, and like it's like the end of the world for them. And I'm like, y'all, there is a better way to live.
There is.
So what I want to do is I wanted to bring you on to just talk about the better way to live, but then also talk about some of the things because you're different. Even when I had you on my clients a couple of days ago, we were talking about, you're talking about some of the tests and all these other kind of things. So I want to, get some of the questions answered from the people, but I want to ask a couple questions, but talk to us about, this was, what I've been like 45.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the symptoms of menopause?
Okay.
And then when should you seek assistance from somebody else?
Okay.
That's the question I want to ask.
Great question, Christy. Thank you for having me. Super excited about it. Let's see. Let me fix my little stuff so y'all can't see all my mess. Okay. So basically, between perimenopause and menopause is two different things. Ladies tend to notice perimenopausal symptoms well before they're 50 and before they're in true menopause, meaning they're still having cycles, but they can have some symptoms that are associated with low testosterone, which to me is the true definition of perimenopause. So those symptoms would include night sweats, problems with sleep, decreased sex drive, decreased orgasms, fatigue, joint pain, belly fat, mood changes, mind fog, And those are the main symptoms that are associated with perimenopause when your testosterone declines. It's also a time when a lot of women will notice that they are having more acne and facial hair, and they may notice that their hair on their head is starting to thin a little bit. They don't grow hair as quickly, but those are some of the main symptoms that women complain about. And when they complain about those symptoms and it's starting to affect their quality of life, and they have more than a couple of those symptoms, and changing their sleep habits, go to the doctor, get some lab work, and not just any doctor. Let me go to a doctor who specializes in hormones so that I can see exactly what's going on. Because sometimes some of the symptoms can be low testosterone. Sometimes those similar symptoms can be low thyroid. So with low thyroid, women can be tired. Women can gain weight. They can have cold intolerance. They can have hair shedding and thinning. They can have the muscle aches, and they can have the mind fog. So what really differentiates thyroid problems from the testosterone problems would be the cold intolerance, the muscle aches. But just like thyroid being low testosterone can also cause the fatigue, the mind fog, the mood changes, the weight gain, and then also the sexual dissatisfaction, as well as problems with sleep and night sweats. So when I talk about perimenopause, it's the woman who hasn't truly gone through menopause, meaning either she's still having regular cycles, or even if she's had a hysterectomy, her numbers show that she's still producing estrogen. When I think of postmenopausal women, that's when you think of the woman who's gone either a whole year without a cycle and her labs show that she's in menopause. There are specific labs that we look at for that. I look at a follicle stimulating hormone, as well as estrogen levels, as well as the total testosterone levels. And so the woman who is what we consider postmenopausal, she hasn't had a cycle for a year, or her labs are showing, because she's had a hysterectomy and doesn't have cycles anyway, that her levels are off and she's no longer producing estrogen. And when that happens a lot of times, women will notice more hot flashes during the day. And even before you go into menopause, a lot of women will notice the vaginal dryness. So when you're talking about low estrogen, you're talking about more of the hot flashes, the changes in hair and skin. So thinning hair, thinning skin, easy bruising, vaginal dryness, and then some mood problems, as well as difficulty losing weight. So those are the symptoms that we focus on. And usually when a woman or man has many of those symptoms and we check their labs show that they need some hormonal balance. And my favorite way to replace hormones is with plant-based bioidentical hormone therapy. And the reason I prefer that is because, unlike the synthetic hormones that we learned about and everybody was afraid of in the early 2000s, plant-based bioidentical hormones, if done correctly by an expert who monitors those levels and knows what she's doing, like Dr. Mia and Mibella, then that's going to actually protect your heart, decrease your risk of breast cancer, decrease your risk of dementia, and decrease the risk of bone loss. So definitely some health benefits besides just the quality of life and the aging better. You age more gracefully when your hormones are balanced.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Have you joined me on my mentorship community? And if not, what are you waiting for? According to a Bain study, 90% of women who got to the executive level had sponsors and mentors. And if you don't have a mentor, how do you expect to get to the next level? In this community, not only do I have my signature resume course and my course, 7 Keys to Getting the Raise, Bonus, or Promotion That You Desire and Deserve, I show up and answer your questions live. So if you want to get to the next level in your career, if you're ready to stop procrastinating and get things done, join us in this community. It's only $2.99 a month. Go to the link prpmentor.com or use the link on around this video. I can't wait to see you on the inside and answer your questions and get you to your next level of success. Take care. So let's talk about, we got the symptoms, right? And so I remember when you asked me, you were like, Christy, telling my business in these streets. You was like, you in full blown menopause. I'm like, what does that mean? You were like, your body's not producing, because you know, she got to ask it, y'all. Your body ain't producing any estrogen. I'm like, yeah, but what does that do though? Right? Like, I get that, like the labs, because there was a lab. It wasn't me Googling something. And I had been in denial for years because I'm too young for all that. That's for normal people. I'm thinking I got mind control over Debo, right? Like, I got mind control over my body. Like this ain't gonna happen to me. I'm gonna be fruitful and fertile, which I'm good on the kids forever. Like this, Eve ain't eat the apple and all this other kind. And so it's like when I finally, when you talked about being in full-blown menopause, you were like, well, are you irritable? I'm like, I don't know. It depends on somebody getting on my nerves or not, right? Like I know I'm sweating. I know I wake up at night and my neck is wet, my back is wet. I know that I break out in sweat randomly, and it's the worst times that I used to see like my mom them, and my mom never complained, but like some of my, my more mature cousins, they were going through it. And so I kind of knew, but I didn't want to admit to it until I got to the point where, I couldn't deny it anymore. And then I got a pellet. Y'all ain't had a hot flash since. So when I hear women and all this suffering, I'm like, y'all ain't got to live that way. So what are some of the benefits of I forgot what you call it, because I call it a vegan hormone pellet. It's slow release, is every 90 days for me. And then one of my clients is every 90 days. And I think last year, Dr. May, it was December. I think I came back in January. I thought it should be every 4 months. And I forgot. So I was ready to stomp a hole in somebody. Around the holidays, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to be balanced because I'm over here acting a whole donkey. So what does, when you have women who are aggressive, what's off, and then what needs to be changed, and how can they do that is my question.
I think that's a good question, because I think we can't just think of it as symptoms, but also the effect of these symptoms on our lives. So, during this time, if you think about it, perimenopause, women are in their late 30s, 40s, menopause, they're in their 50s. This is also the time of divorce. This is a time of career changes. And so the hormonal changes and the symptoms associated with hormonal imbalance affect your quality of life, but they can also affect your career. They can affect your family life. They can affect a lot of relationships. So having these symptoms aren't a small deal. It's a big deal to not be able to sleep. It's a big deal to have night sweats and wake up every night, because then when you're not sleeping, you're going to be tired. You're going to be irritable. You're not going to be able to focus and remember. And all of those things can negatively affect your career, as well as your personal relationships and your professional relationships. So it really is a big deal when women are going through these hormonal changes and their symptoms are significant enough to affect their quality of life. And that's when we know it should be treated. The other thing is when women go into menopause, that's when our risk of breast cancer increases. That's when our risk of heart disease increases. That's when our risk of stroke increases, our risk of diabetes, because we're more likely to gain weight during that time, our risk of high blood pressure, because when you don't have hormones, it affects your heart negatively. So it's not just feeling good and having great sex that we talk about when we're talking about hormones. We're talking about real quality of life, real relationships, real professional effects that it can have on you. Because if you can't perform, if you can't focus and remember, if you're so irritable, anxious, and depressed that you can't get out of bed, all of those things are going to have a huge negative effect and impact on your quality of life, your relationships, your family, as well as your professional relationships.
Let's talk about the relationship piece, right? Because before we get into the work and promotability, and the, whether it's the sexual dysfunction, the dissatisfaction, the I don't want to do it, or just the irritability, what are some of, like, give us, a couple of examples of women who were having challenges, because I know you talk to your patients, right? That were having challenges at home. And then once they got the work done on themselves, then how did that improve their relationship? Go ahead and give us an example of that.
So one of my saddest examples is one of my patients who got her pellet and she felt so much better. And she was such a happier person and she was so excited. But she said, you know what, Dr. Mia, if I had known about this 2 years ago, I think I would still be married. I would not be divorced right now. Because and then I have women to come in and they just talk about their husbands. You know, I've done their blood work, they haven't gotten a pellet yet, we haven't done any treatment, they have all the symptoms, I check their blood work, their levels are low, and they're like, yeah, and they talk about their husbands and they talk about how much they don't like what their husbands do. And then when they come back after they have their pellet, when they come back in for their blood work and they're feeling better, I'm like, so how is your husband? They're like, oh my God, he is wonderful. They have even forgotten how angry and upset they were at their husband, because most of it had to do with their mood and their hormonal imbalance and them not being able to sleep. So of course, if you're not sleeping, you're going to wake up tired. Of course, if you're anxious and depressed and irritable, you're not thinking about sex. Of course, if you're super tired all the time, you're not thinking about sex. And not to mention the changes on your body. You know, when testosterone is low, women can notice acne, increase in facial hair, thinning of their hair as they, lose more estrogen. They start to notice more belly fat. They notice that it's harder to lose weight. So that can affect confidence as well. So like I said, hormonal imbalance, and it's not, everybody doesn't experience the same severe symptoms. Some women wake up and they're in menopause. They didn't even know they went through it and nothing changed for them. Of course, most of the women that I see, they come to see me because they are having the hormonal problems. I'm not saying that every woman needs hormonal balance, but I'm saying if you're having the symptoms that we just described, it's affecting your quality of life. You're not performing like you should on your job because you can't remember and you can't focus and you acting ugly and nobody wants to be around you. You don't like yourself. Nobody else likes you and you don't like anybody else. We probably need to check those hormone levels, get you balanced so that you can feel back to your normal self. And what most women find after they get the hormones is that they have more desire for sex. They enjoy sex more, because we also make sure we treat the vaginal tissue, but just testosterone alone increases orgasms, increases libido, the desire, the arousal. They're going to notice that they're not as tired. They have more energy. And even me, as an example, at 38, when I got my first pellet, I didn't even realize something was wrong with me. I simply got the pellet because I was going for training. My numbers were low and they were like, well, just bring your numbers. And if you need a pellet, we'll give you one. So, so it didn't even dawn on me that I wasn't really sleeping through the night. I was waking up every night at 3:00 in the morning. It didn't dawn on me that I was pretending like I was asleep because I didn't really want to have sex with my husband because it was the last thing on my mind. I did notice that when I had sex, I didn't get the big orgasms that I was used to. I was ugly at work. I mean, I was just ugly. I had tantrums. I yelled. I was not keeping my employees because my attitude was too terrible. I didn't like myself and other people didn't like me, but I didn't even realize the severity of my symptoms until I felt better. And then when I felt better, I was like, oh my God, like I went apologizing to people. I was like, I am so sorry. I had no idea that I was even acting that way. And that's what we get to see all the time. The woman that, like, my staff's totally trained to deal with the difficult patient, because a lot of the times the patients come in, they're hormonally imbalanced and they do act ugly. They mistreat my staff. I don't allow them to continue to mistreat, but then they come in when they're balanced and they're totally different people. They're some of the nicest people you ever met. So the lack of hormones and hormonal imbalance can have way more of an effect than people realize. And a lot of times women don't even realize that they're acting the way they're acting, that they're really experiencing those symptoms because they're just, going with it and keeping it moving and taking care of everybody else.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. I want to tell you about my resume course, How to Use the Superpower Method to Write an Irresistible Resume to Land You a High-Paying Job. If you can't figure out why you can't get to the next level, if you think that they are barriers to your success, that's not it. If you haven't learned how to adequately take credit for the work that you've done, if you don't know how to articulate it and even give it to a resume writer that you've paid $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to, if you haven't given them the right information, then how can they output something that is of quality and value? So go ahead, get this course. It's less than $50. Get the information, use it, and write an irresistible resume that will get you the salary that you deserve today. So click on the link on around this video or go to thesuperpowermethod.com. Get it, use it, get paid what you deserve today. Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. But when I think about, some of the influencers out here that they make a joke about perimenopause and what they're going through, but they ain't doing nothing.
Right.
What you gonna do though, sis? Don't be gathering this movement of we all suffering and let's you know,
Right.
row your boat and just rock through this thing together. It's like,
Fix it.
create a solution for it. But then I saw somebody today that was on Facebook, and she said, "Oh, I went to whatever and I got my hormones, and she said, I'm low in testosterone, and you know what I need? Sunshine. I'm gonna go out and get some vitamin D." I was like, "My God, ma'am!" But that's what her doctor told her, right? Like, your testosterone. I got my things checked. I'm not in menopause, but I'm low in testosterone. I'm gonna go get some sunshine. I was like, "Child, I ain't got time to educate them, Dr. Mia. But if her testosterone is low, what are her symptoms?" And then, like, and is sunshine gonna do it?
Right. And sunshine doesn't even help with vitamin D like people think. Like, I'm gonna go get some sun. You know, some of my biggest tanners still have low vitamin D because the sun is it's a different thing now compared to what it was 20 or 30 years ago. I forgot the question, Krista. What'd you say? Oh, some of the symptoms. So yeah, so if your testosterone is low, then it's those symptoms I talked about. You're not sleeping, your sex drive is low, it's difficult to have orgasms, you're fatigued, you're gaining weight, especially in your abdomen, and the joint pain, like joint pain in the hands, joint pain in the knees, the hips. A lot of women will notice that mind fog. So they go to work, they have a lot of tasks to do, they can't complete anything, they can't remember what they were doing, they can't remember why they walked through the door, they went in a room to get something, they can't remember what they were getting. All of those things are going to cause more anxiety, more irritability, and it's just like a complete cycle. Then you try to go to bed at night because you're extremely tired, you can't go to sleep, or you fall asleep and you're waking up 2 and 3 times at night thinking you have to go to the bathroom. So that's what a lot of people say, "Oh, I sleep well, I just have to go to the bathroom." No, you're not sleeping well. And when a woman wakes up, her natural thing to do is to go to the bathroom. So you go to the bathroom because you're awake, but you're waking up and you're not getting good sleep. So you're never real rested. And then, the whole sexual part, like, to me, sex is a gift. It is a gift from God. It's one of the few gifts that we have that we can enjoy. We can have orgasms, but women who have regular intimacy, whether it's with a partner or whether it's by themselves, they live about 5 years longer than women who don't. And we all know the oneness in any relationship, a lot of that is going to be provided through not just emotional intimacy and spiritual intimacy, but also physical intimacy is important. And it doesn't necessarily mean that physical intimacy is always sex, but you still want to continue to have that desire, because having regular intimacy protects the heart, it improves the wellness. And again, women who have regular intimacy live about 5 years longer than women who don't. So all of these things affect our quality of life, but also our health. And hormonal balance plays a huge role in how we age and prevention of major diseases, and the number one cause of death, heart disease. Hormone balance decreases the risk of heart disease.
I did have to run upstairs to get my charger because we get charged up over here. But all I heard you say, sex is a gift. It is a gift.
It is a gift from God, and it's important. So a lot of my older women, they're like, "Oh no, I don't do that anymore." I'm like, "You don't do what anymore?" But then I have my ladies who they've been getting their hormone balance for years and years and years. And they've been having great sex. They still have great relationships, and they're 70, 75. I got an 80-something-year-old lady who comes in here and gets her pellet every 5 to 6 months. She travels the world. That's what she does with her life right now. And the way she has the energy to do it and to feel good while she's doing it is she comes in and she gets her pellets 2 or 3 times a year. And usually my older patients don't have to get them the 4 times a year. As you get older, your metabolism changes. So it may be more like 2 to 3 times, but you can get pellets forever. And I will be getting them until I die, as long as I am able to get one.
Let's talk about being intimate at 80.
And I had this great conversation with one of my patients today. And we were talking about intimacy. And she was like, "Well, my husband had prostate cancer. So we haven't really been able to have sex the way we want." I said, "Well, what I explain to all of my patients is that with age, sex changes. Like you're not swinging from chandeliers when you're 45 and 50, the average person at 45 and 50, but you can still have great intimacy. Your partner, your husband may have prostate cancer. Now, I do have patients with prostate cancer, males, and we can do some different services to help them with their intimacy. But like I told her, I think this one patient, she is over 70. Her husband is over 70. He had prostate cancer years ago, was diagnosed years ago. He did get a pump so that he could still have intimacy. Now the pump isn't working. And the question was, what is it? Like, she was really embarrassed about asking. I said, you know what? Sex changes as we age. There are toys. You may need some lubricant. You probably not doing a whole bunch of things that require flexibility, but you learn how to do what you need to do for enjoyment, and you can still have physical intimacy. One of my favorite things to watch is Sex, Love, and Goop, because it really talks about the act of sex, the connection. I like tantric. And I think sex is something that we should explore and we should educate ourselves about, because nobody's educated us about the different orgasms you can have, your different erotic zones. The only way you've learned that is if you have taken the time to learn how to make sure you're having an orgasm. If you masturbate, you're probably going to have better orgasms than the average person. You know what I mean? So it's just so many things that are going to change as we age, but it doesn't mean that we can't have sex anymore. It means that we're just going to do it differently and make sure that both partners are pleased, and we have to be creative. And sometimes that requires us bringing toys into the bedroom.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Wanted to see if you have already joined us in my mentorship community. If not, I'm not sure what else to do, and what are you waiting for? If you're tired of being stuck and overwhelmed, if you're tired of going in circles, if you can't figure out how to get to the next level despite the gazillion degrees that you have and the 15 to 20 years experience that you're walking around with, the untapped, unmonetized intellectual property, it's time to do something different. So get off the fence. Join us in this community. Allow me to mentor you and hold you accountable to the things that you say that you want in your life. Join us in this community. Use the information. Get your money. It's not that hard. $15 million in salary raises since 2020 in some of the toughest economic times. People are winning. Why not you?
Well, that is a huge problem when it comes to marriage, right? And, as women get more mature and they have kids, and, I had a couple of clients where I just asked, Dr. Me, me, be like, when's the last time you gave it up? Like, that's just my question. When last, and the look of disgust that they have on their face. And I'm like,
no, sex is not bad. It's good. It's like one of the greatest gifts we have.
So let's talk about, somebody just asked, what is the pellet? What is the pellet, Dr. Mia?
What is the pellet? So the pellet is made from a plant yam. It's actually one of the first forms of hormone replacement therapy in the United States of America. But because it can't be controlled, because it's natural, they created a synthetic hormone replacement treatment called Premarin and Prem-Pro, which is made from horse urine. The hormone pellet is actually made from a plant, and it looks just like the estrogen and testosterone that your ovaries produced when you were younger. So that's why we call it plant-based, because it's made from a plant, and bioidentical because it looks just like the hormones we already have in our bodies. We just don't have enough. So adding the pellet actually helps. The way the pellet is placed is, first I numb you up. The pellet goes in the hip. They're really small. They describe them as like, I describe it as like 3 pieces of long grain rice. That's about the size of it. So really small. And the way I place it is I numb you up, make a little incision. And then I pop your pellets in, put a steri strip and a bandage on for 5 days. No squats, no horseback riding, no submersion in water, but you can shower. Take that bandage off. We get blood work at the 4 to 6 week mark, 4 weeks for men, 6 weeks for women. I see how you respond to the pellet because it's individually dosed for each person. I dose it based on your activity, your history of activity, your age, your weight and height, so BMI, and then your lab work. And then based on that, I dose you. And then we check blood work. We figure out what your dosing works as, and then it will change. So if you lose a lot of weight, you may need more pellet. If you stop having activity, you may need less pellet. And with age, you may not need quite as much. So that's why we monitor the blood work.
So talk to us about some of the other services that you offer with regards to the JJ rejuvenation and the O shot, because I had never heard of that stuff. So and here's the thing that when it comes to sex, right? And there's a lot of shame placed around it, and a lot of, and I would say shame for us I don't know how old you are, Dr. B. You fine though. You 40 something, right? Like the 40 something.
I'll
The
be
Gen X.
49 in August.
Okay, the Gen X, because we, had the VHS tapes with the porn, and then you get
Right,
caught. Somebody told my
right.
dad that I was
And the
watching.
Playboy magazines, yeah.
Yeah. But now it's different today for these younger girls. We ain't talking about them because they different. The music is insane. But let's talk about for the Gen X. The we don't talk about it, right? And I brought you on to talk to my clients, and they had a gazillion questions. I think they probably asked you questions for 30 minutes because we don't have these open conversations. But I remember when we were in Atlanta for the CAU event, she'd be like, everlasting intimacy. And you said whether you have sex with a partner or alone. And I remember Marquel was like, how do you do it alone? We were hollering. But talk to us about, the actually it's not the rejuvenation anymore. Y'all don't do that, but the O shot, and then what you do for men. And then how did you get into this? I don't know which order you want to do that, but how have y'all evolved as a company?
So when I first started my practice, Mibella Wellness Center in Birmingham, Alabama, I started it doing gynecology for adolescents and women, as well as weight management. So my focus has always been health education and promotion and prevention. So weight management, of course, in Alabama, as well as the rest of America, is a big deal with childhood obesity, and most adults are overweight or obese. The minority would be a normal weight person. Okay. So that's how I got into the weight management, because I realized how hard it is to lose weight, especially as you age and mature. When I changed my practice from doing OB, I ended up getting a lot of women who were in that perimenopausal age and that postmenopausal age range, because they didn't want to go sit at an OB's office who's delivering babies, because they're done with that. And I still had all of my other patients as well. And so what I started to notice is that my women in their 40s, their late 30s, 40s, and 50s had some of the same complaints. And they were hormonal symptoms that really weren't talked about. So it was the night sweats and the problems with sleep and the decreased sex drive. When you think about estrogen, and when we were treating, when I was in medical school and residency, we were just treating with estrogen and progesterone, and we were using the estrogen mainly for hot flashes. All the other stuff we were told is just a normal part of aging. As you get older, you don't want to have sex. As you get older, you may not have orgasms. You may not sleep, and you may have night sweats, and you may be irritable and mean. So I started doing some research, and a doctor retired near me who was already doing hormone replacement therapy for all of his patients. He didn't even ask if you were having symptoms. Once you reach a certain age, which is around 40, 45, he put you on testosterone. Once you were in full menopause and you were no longer producing estrogen, as long as it was safe for you to take estrogen, he would add the estrogen. And I just noticed the difference in his patients and the way they aged compared to the way most of my patients aged who had not had the testosterone experience. And so his patients were active. They were still sexually vibrant. They were enjoying sex, having great orgasms. They had great relationships. That a lot of them were still working at later ages, and they just were younger, acting, looking healthier people. And that's what really got me on my search and my quest to figure out, like, what is it with these plant-based bioidentical hormones? Because I had to stumble upon that. That's not how we were trained in medical school. I trained during the time when they were telling everybody to get off hormones, that it was a bad thing. And so they took all these women off hormones. So anyway, I figured out the role of testosterone in perimenopause, the role of estrogen, but I also figured out the plant-based bioidentical hormones being so much healthier and safer. So I started using those. And then my patients still started to notice that once they were balanced, they still had some changes in their sexual function. So even though their libido had increased, they still weren't enjoying sex as much. Because what happens is, as you age and mature and the hormones in your vaginal tissue start to decline, a lot of women will notice a thinning of the tissue, which is when they start noticing the vaginal dryness, the decreased sensitivity, the difficulty having orgasms, the leakage of urine with coughing, sneezing, jumping, laughing, the laxity, so not feeling like things are as tight as they used to be. And as a gynecologist, I can actually see the difference in the vagina. The color of the tissue is no longer pink and fluffy with little rugae. It's thin and it's light pink to white. It changes. It's thin tissue. You touch it, it easily bleeds. So of course, if you have intercourse, it's going to be painful. So I started off focusing on treating the tissue topically, which I recommend every woman do, starting at the age of 40. But I also noticed that wasn't the only thing that didn't help everybody. So that's how I got into researching the O shot, the P shot, and then some other services that help with the vaginal tissue. So anytime you're thinking about changes in vaginal tissue, whether it's erectile dissatisfaction for men or vaginal dryness for women, you're talking about a decrease in blood flow to the genitals. And with a decrease in blood flow, you're going to get dryness for women, and you're going to get difficulty having erections for men. So the way we treat that is with the P shot or O shot. And that's where we take your blood, we spin it, we take the platelet-rich plasma for there, we separate it, and we use that platelet-rich plasma, replace it into the area so that you can have better orgasms, more intense orgasms, more frequent orgasms, so that you can not have the leakage of urine with coughing, sneezing, jumping, laughing, having to wear a panty liner because you pee on yourself every day. And then it also helps with urgency and frequency. So it helps with the urinary symptoms as well as the sexual function. We also do what we call sound wave technology. So before we do that shot where we replace that platelet-rich plasma at the clitoris and the G-spot for women, and in the men, we replace it in the actual penis and around the head. And that is going to increase sensitivity, orgasms, and just improve your function. And it helps with tightening. So the women who were having that laxity feeling like, they really didn't feel anything, now that tissue is going to regenerate. It's going to feel more like when you're in your 20s and your 30s, and you're going to enjoy sex more. But just as importantly, you're not going to leak urine and pee on yourself all the time. It's going to help with your urinary tract as well. And then the sound wave technology doesn't hurt. It's a probe. We put some baby oil on you, and we use that sound wave technology to increase the blood flow to the area for men and women. And then the other thing that we have is with the shot, you can also get the hydrogel. So with our platelet-rich plasma, think about it, mine is about 49 years old. With the hydrogel, that's going to be from Wharton's jelly of the placenta. So it's really young, healthy, vibrant growth factors. So when you put them together, you're just going to intensify the result of the O shot or the P shot. So you're going to have more, intense orgasms, more sensitivity, more lubrication. And those same procedures can be used for the outside, because as we age, not only does the inside of the vagina change, but the vulva, the lips of the vagina start to change. Things start to look different. If you gain weight and lose weight, things start to look different. So there are so many treatment options out there now where you can enjoy looking at yourself, and you can enjoy what your vagina can do for you, because now it's healthy, sensitive, vibrant, lubricated, and orgasmic.
We got to create an acronym for that. You'd be like, sensitive. What's the second one you said? Lubricant.
Orgasmic.
So low.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta create it.
We're gonna come up with an acronym.
It's gotta create an acronym for that.
Every year. Yeah.
So,
but every year I get my O shot.
Go ahead. You said you get a.
So it's one of those things that you need, like. Yep. So every 12 to 18 months is the O shot. Some people can go a little bit longer. We also have a device that most of our patients purchase when they get the O shot that you can use at home. And it has that red light energy, which helps with blood flow. And it also has that kind of radio frequency or heated energy to maintain your result. So my women who are really diligent, they may last closer to the 2 years. But for the women who don't continue to use the it as much as they should, 12 months.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Go ahead and register for my upcoming event, Salary Increase Secrets. This is insider information that your well-paid colleagues don't want you to know. In this virtual event, I'm going to be sharing some insight with you on how do you get the pay raise that you deserve. It's not as hard as you think it is. We've done over $15 million in salary raises for women since 2020. Women are getting paid during these times. Why not you? So go ahead and click on the link below this video, or go to salaryincreasesecrets.com. Register for this event. It's at no cost. Join us. Get this information so you can get paid what you desire and deserve. Take care.
Yeah, I got two questions. So somebody asked, is there a difference when women have PCOS? I don't know what PCOS is.
Yeah, so polycystic ovarian syndrome that is a disease of insulin resistance. So that means that you're prone to diabetes. And when you eat sugar or carbs, your insulin levels go really high. And with the high insulin levels, it throws your hormone levels off. And so a lot of women with PCOS will notice that they don't ovulate. So they may have some problems with fertility. They may notice that they start skipping cycles. So they're not having a cycle every month. The acne, the facial hair. So when you see the younger girls with the big belly who are overweight with thin hair and a beard, a lot of those young ladies have PCOS, which is easily treatable. But for some reason, people are not treating it. I'm like, I had a patient to come in today and, going 3 and 4 months without cycles and nobody's doing anything for her, wants a baby. Nobody's addressing the fact that she wants a baby. So everybody's just giving them birth control pills, but you can't use birth control pills if you want to have a baby and you want to ovulate. So PCOS is different from perimenopause, though women with PCOS can go through perimenopause and notice a decline in their testosterone. Usually women with PCOS have higher androgens, so male hormones, which is why they get the hair on the face and get the acne and the thinning of the hair, and then they also get the bigger belly.
So how would you treat PCOS? Is that a pellet too, or is that something different?
No, not necessarily a pellet. A lot of times for fertility, well, one thing I do is I control their insulin levels, and my favorite easy drug to use is metformin. So whether they have true diabetes, where their hemoglobin A1C is like, it could be 5.6, and if it's normal at 5.6 or less. But if I have a 25-year-old who is skipping cycles, I know that she has PCOS when she has that hair, and I get blood work, and then metformin works really well for decreasing the insulin level so that they can regulate their cycles. Sometimes I have to give them progesterone to help regulate their cycles. And then it's some other treatment options that we have so that women can be fertile, women can regulate their cycles and still have a great quality of life. And it's totally, you can totally get rid of PCOS with weight management and with weight loss, you know what I mean, and control of the blood sugars as well as the insulin levels.
Okay, another question. How does the pellet compare to taking other bioidentical plant-based hormones in cream form? Progesterone.
Well, that's what I started with, was the hormone creams for my patients, because that's all I knew. A lot of people weren't doing the pellets back in 2010 when did I start? I started in 2014 doing the pellets, but I was doing the creams before. I came up with, I researched the pellets because the creams don't compare really. You know what I mean? Some of my patients get the creams, and pellets are not covered by your insurance. It's going to be something you have to invest in. With the creams, it is more affordable. So what I tell my patients is, if you can't afford the pellets or you don't want to do the pellets, then at least do the cream so that you're balancing your hormones. But to me, there's not a huge comparison, because creams are short acting. You have to apply them twice a day. You're not going to get a certain level, and then it's generic, meaning we don't individualize dosing with the creams. We just kind of start low and continue to move up until we hit that magic number where you're not having the negative symptoms, but also making sure we prevent negative side effects from overdosing with testosterone.
I wanted to almost ask the question, where are we putting these creams? Why are they putting them creams? Is that going, when you rubbing it on your vagina?
Oh yeah, you can put it, I always say, put it at the bend of the elbows, between the thighs or behind the knees. Switch it around every time. And then that cream can have the testosterone as well as the estrogen in there, just like the pellet can have testosterone and estrogen. And the good thing about testosterone is it's not contraindicated in women at all. For men who have prostate cancer and who are undergoing treatment, we don't want them on testosterone. But for the woman who has breast cancer or had breast cancer, had a blood clot, she can use testosterone, but she cannot have estrogen.
Okay. But here's the thing. Women got to get tested and not be Googling this stuff. I think that's the danger, Dr. B. Is like, there's so much, information out there, and they, you got these experts who ain't doctors, by the way. They get on my nerves, right, or whatever. And they're giving insight about what they read. But it's, when I listen to you, and you were my first introduction to this. So look at God. I sat beside y'all. I listened to everything. We was having ideas and marketing, all this other kind of stuff. I still wasn't trying to do it to my, all right, fine. I can't stop sweating. So my perception of what's possible is going to be different. And my perception of how easy it is, y'all don't have to suffer. And there's this whole movement of just being miserable and, oh, it's all funny. And period waking me up in the middle of the night. And I'm like, yeah, but you could do something about that, sis. Like,
right.
I'm just,
You don't have to live like that.
You gotta live like that. All right, one more question. Somebody asked, are muscle cramps a sign of menopause, a symptom of menopause? Should I have to carry mustard? Did you mean to say mustard?
Yeah.
I don't know what the mustard is for, but
yeah, a lot of people do mustard or pickles, bananas. But yeah, I don't know. I won't say that it's a sign of just menopause. So you definitely need to rule out and making sure you're drinking plenty of water, especially if you're on a diuretic. Those things can change your electrolytes. If you're not drinking enough water and you're taking medicine for high blood pressure and it's a diuretic, that can cause muscle cramps and your diet. But I have noticed that as I age and mature, I can easily get a Charlie horse or a cramp anywhere. And I do drink a whole bunch of water.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that it's a symptom of menopause, but I do think with aging, like even my husband, but I guess he an andropause because he's 54. So I do think, I don't know if it's necessarily the change in hormones, but I know with aging, you can get more cramps. But making sure your electrolytes are good, making sure you're drinking plenty of water, and then monitoring the medications that you're taking when you started having the muscle aches. Okay. And yes, you can use plant-based bioidentical hormones with fibroids. So, probably if you line up 100 black and white women, at least 80 of them going to have a fibroid. So many of my patients who get, hormone pellet therapy or hormone therapy in general can have fibroids. I think the biggest thing is with fibroids, they can be stimulated by estrogen. So if you're postmenopausal, those would be the women I may notice some bleeding changes. But usually if we balance the hormones and change the dosing, that's going to be fine. But you can use the testosterone when you have fibroids for sure. And some women still use the estrogen and the progesterone, because once you're in menopause, your fibroids should kind of relax and kind of start to shrink down and not be as much of a problem, because you don't have the estrogen in your system that's stimulating the fibroids. So yes, you can use plant-based bioidentical hormones with known fibroids.
All right, I got 2 more questions with Dr. Mia, and if y'all don't have no questions, we're gonna jump off because she in her office. She need to go home. So I remember, Dr. Mia, I was getting ashy as I don't know what. I'm like Ashy Larry
on your face.
Huh?
You remember how we used to have those pink sponges to try to keep the oil out of our face, and now you wouldn't dare put a pink sponge because you want as much oil on your face as you can have, because as you're aging, you dry out, everything dries out, the vagina, the skin on the face, everywhere. Yeah, yeah.
Was that the estrogen I was missing? What was that? Yep. I was like, wow, ashy, like trying to find the bougiest lotion ever.
Yeah.
Almost a $50 lotion to okay.
So that's a combination of low estrogen and or testosterone, because I started noticing the skin on my face and getting more eczema with just low testosterone, because I don't think I'm in menopause yet. I keep claiming it, but I just stay on birth control, so I don't know. But but you do start to notice the changes in your skin, the dryness, the thinning of the skin, the thinning of the eyebrows, the thinning of the eyelashes, and then the hair in the places you don't want and losing the hair in the place you want it. You lose the hair on your head, your brows, and your lashes, but then a lot of women start to notice more hair on their faces in general, or hirsutism, just from going into menopause and the changes of hormones.
Somebody asked, can your fibroids grow during perimenopause?
They can. And fibroids, I'm actually doing a free webinar on that next week, where we'll talk about the different treatment options and prevention, because a lot of things associated with fibroids can be prevented with change in diet, controlling weight, avoiding soy, decreasing your pork and your beef, eating a more plant-based diet with more whole foods. So there are some lifestyle things that you can do to decrease the risk of your fibroids growing. Usually by the time you're in menopause, they're not growing anymore. And perimenopause, yes, they still can grow. So when you're still producing estrogen, estrogen stimulates fibroids. Estrogen is stored in fat. So that's why when losing weight, controlling your weight, and monitoring your diet make a huge difference in the progression of your fibroids.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. I hope that you are enjoying this podcast as much as we loved putting it together for you to share insight to make your life better. Now, did you get your copy of my resume course, How to Use the Superpower Method to Write an Irresistible Resume to Land You a High-Paying Job? Look, even if you have somebody write your resume for you, how do you know whether or not it sucks?
And did you give them the information to be able to write a great resume, or did you hope that they were going to spend gold out of something that you gave them that wasn't that good? So get this course, not just to write your own resume, but to be able to provide resume writers with what they need to adequately tell your story so you can get paid the money that you desire and deserve. So go ahead and click on the link on around this video. Get this course, use it, and get paid what you deserve. It's less than $50. I mean, come on, just get the course and use it. See you soon. I remember when I used to drink soy milk, and this was back in the day though, like 2008, 2009, and I had a headache. They gave me a brain scan, right? Like, because my headaches, I had headaches every day, and they kept trying to like diagnose. This is in the military, they was trying to diagnose you with something. And I ended up just, they tried to diagnose me with something and give me medication. I was like, I ain't taking that ish. But I had to stop and think. I said, I eat the same thing every day. Even to this day, I eat the same thing every day because I know what I eat because I'm in tune with how I feel. Hey,
right. So you eat what makes you feel good.
I try to eat high vibration food. But let's talk about this chocolate protein shake I had at lunchtime. Never again. I was wiped out. But anyway, we're gonna get on that. But I know I'm very in tune with what I eat and how I feel because I want to be high energy all the time. But I had to think after 6 months, I said, what have I changed? And what have I eaten in the past 6 months that I have blinding headaches every day where they're gonna give me a brain scan? And it was the soy milk. And I stopped drinking it, and a week later, the headache was gone. I had it every day where they gave me a brain scan to try to like diagnose me with having something on my brain. I was like, that's a lie. So and you talked about
soy is like estrogen, and estrogen stimulates fibroids, and estrogen can also cause migraines. So some people who get on birth control pills, they have migraines because of the estrogen. So that's one of the things I tell my patients is avoid soy. So that means you also avoiding fast food, and you're also avoiding processed food, because if you look on the ingredients of processed food, most of them have soy. The cereal you're giving your children, the outside of Cheerios, but all of that other stuff you're giving them, it's soy. And that's why our girls are getting cycles earlier, because not only are they introduced to soy earlier and the processed food earlier, they're also larger and more overweight, so they're more likely to have earlier cycles.
So let's talk about the men's services that you offer, because I was trying to get you in Joseph to name, I think, what was the P shot the wood. Y'all wouldn't do it though. That's still my tell Joseph that.
Look, I was gonna name myself the WAP doctor for a minute.
I needed to be changed to the wood. So what are the men's services that y'all offer, and then why? Because it's when I think about business, like we've been in the game. You've been in business for how long?
14 years.
Okay, 14 years. I've been in business officially now as a coach successfully for 7, but I was in the sweet by for 10, but I've been coaching for over 20 since 2001, so 23 years. Mm-hmm. So you have the difference between people who do stuff for money and people do stuff because out of passion, right? So the knowledge base is going to be different. The research is going to be different. The reason why you do it is going to be different. Mm-hmm. And so, I only, and you know me, Dr. Mia, I only talk to people that I trust. I know, like, and trust. I don't just, I'm not getting any, Dr. Mia, come on here. She gave me a special link, and then y'all go work with her, and then I get money. I refer people to Dr. Mia all the time and don't want $1 because I trust her and I want people to be served. And so I bring that up because y'all have to be careful of who you get your information from.
That's right.
Like everybody, y'all researching Google and Wikipedia and all these people who calling themselves experts, but how they're expert because of what they read? Because we already know, Dr. Mia, what you read in a book about entrepreneurship, it don't happen like that.
I got a whole MBA, and that was all. And none of the stuff they taught me will work for me right now.
Yeah. So talk to us about how you got into like the men's services, and then what do y'all offer for men?
Okay, so I got into men's services because my wives were like, okay, so now you fix me. I got a great sex drive. My vaginal tissues are amazing, but my husband can't keep an erection. Or my husband doesn't have the libido that he thought he had. Now that my libido is good, we realize that his libido is actually low and he's actually irritable. So when I got trained for hormone pellet therapy for women, they also trained me on men. So of course, when Joseph turned, I think I checked his hormone levels when he was like in his earlier 40s. But by the time he was 46, 47, when I started noticing his belly getting bigger and, you know, his decrease in libido. So that's how I got started, taking care of my patients' husbands or significant others, because it's no fun for one person to increase their libido and their sexual function and the other person hasn't, because it's not going to match. So my ladies ended up introducing their husbands to me. That's when I started doing their pellets. And as soon as I started doing intimacy services and I was trained on intimacy services, I was trained on that for men and women. And like my favorite thing is couples. So I have a lot of couples who come in, both of them get their pellets, both of them get their intimacy services. They have a great, happy, healthy household, but it's hard to fix one person in a relationship and the other person is not fixed. So that's how I got into the men. And it's actually one of the most rewarding parts of my job. It's like seeing somebody come in who's almost giving up on life. Because y'all, this hormonal imbalance for some people is not a big deal, but for some people, it changed. Like, you remember when you were young and your mama would say, you know, Miss So-and-so had a nervous breakdown. Most of the time, Miss So-and-so had menopause and uncontrolled hormones. Nobody gave her anything to help her, and she almost lost her mind. So these symptoms can be really severe for a lot of people. So the best part of my job is seeing somebody come in when they're feeling like crap, and you know how they're acting then, and then after I balance their hormones, how good they feel, how much more energetic they are, and just how much more productive they are, and how much better their relationships are. So I really enjoy taking care of couples, because you can really see a huge result in their relationships.
And your husband, I can't remember Joseph's story, but Joseph he ended up, he lost like 30 pounds, or he started to pack on weight, but he had too much of something and not enough of what was it? Because I can't remember.
So he had low testosterone when he was about 46, 47. He was down to like 300. So when you're looking at testosterone for women, we say if it's under 70 with severe symptoms, treat it. For men, if it's under 700. And they have significant symptoms, then treating it would help. So at first, I think Joseph was like 750 or something when I checked it when he was 44. But then by the time I checked it again at 46 or 47, that's when he was like in the 300s. And now we keep his levels well over 700. And he definitely feels better. And his sexual function is better. And he gets his P shots and I get my O shots. And we got a real happy, healthy household.
All right. So what services, how can people, I put your link in the chat. So what do you do? Like if people want to work with you, because I fly from the ocean.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot, thank you, Christy. I do have a lot of people that fly in because, unfortunately, you can't really get Dr. Mia everywhere. And this is something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I have really learned and, taught myself as a science. So I'm just real good at hormone balance and I'm real good at intimacy services. So I do virtual consults. I don't practice medicine across state lines yet, but I am working on my impact license. So that'll allow me to include several states where I will be able to practice medicine. But for now, we do the virtual consult. I figure out what's going on with you, order your blood work, and then my patients will fly in and we'll do everything on that same day. And then they will continue to just fly in. Some patients, if they live really far away, we may get their levels correct. We may get their levels right. And then if it's just like they flying all the way from California, once we get their levels right, then we can consult a doctor over there. But I've already created the plan. We know what works for them. And then if they don't want to fly here, every 3 months, they can stay there. But I do have a lot of patients that fly from Houston, St. Louis, Connecticut. A lot of people drive over from Atlanta because you want somebody who's really going to help you to feel better and not write your concerns off.
Yeah, I fly into Atlanta and then I drive 2 hours to Birmingham. I got that Starbucks that I stop at about midway to get me. Well, let me go ahead and get some extra minutes in this rental car because I'm going to need to get my pellet.
And then I also do the weight management too. And I think that for a lot of people, that's really difficult. And it's a lot of great new things out here that people are excited about that work really well when used appropriately. So, the entire wellness component. So the hormone balance, the intimacy services, the weight management, the supplements, as well as the total wellness. And then of course, GYN, gynecology. I'm real good at that too.
What is the weight management? Because one of my clients comes to you, she lost 30 pounds. I've been trying to show her before and after.
Like 45.
Oh, she lost 45 pounds. Okay. She fine now. What did you do? What did you do?
So I did her resting metabolic rate. So she came in fast. And when she came for her first appointment and flew in from wherever, she came in fast and we did her resting metabolic rate where she breathed in a machine. It told me exactly how many calories she needed to eat to lose weight and to maintain weight. I wrote her eating plan out. She got on my body composition analysis scale because the important thing about losing weight is making sure you're losing fat and not muscle. I can't remember if she took medications, but more than likely she took some medication to get started. And then she changed her lifestyle. She got her hormonal balance and she got everything else she needed for her intimacy. And she is just living her best life and looking great while she's doing it and feeling good.
Her whole, all caps, best life.
Her whole best life. I was like, you got to do me, baby. I need you to do me a testimonial. but the good news is I got a lot of patients with those stories where, just changing their lifestyle, really focusing on wellness, balancing their hormones, losing the weight, because that weight can affect your confidence. You know what I mean? In the bedroom and in the boardroom, being overweight can affect both. So that's what we do over here. We treat the entire woman and man, and we make sure that they learn to live a lifestyle that they can continue.
We want to be like Abraham and Sarah at 125, still
having great sex till you die. That's that's my tagline. Live well so that you can age well. And most importantly, experience everlasting intimacy. And the only way you can do these things, I can give you some hormones. I can teach you how to lose weight, but you still got to do your part. You got to do your prevention. You got to do your screening. You got to take your medication. You still got to keep your blood sugars normal. You got to control your blood pressure. So you got to do the basics. And then on top of the basics, we can add all of these wellness components so you can just live your best life and have everlasting intimacy.
I was going to quote a scripture. When the Lord strengthened Abraham's body. All right. So it's late. So you can go to, I put it in the chat before. We're streaming on Instagram Live as well. Mibella, Mibella wellness.com. Again, MibellaWellness.com. I go to Dr. Mia. I fly. I drive. I don't want nobody else touching me. I like people though, but I don't trust people. But I mean, why not go to the best? And so I was trying to get my appointment in, Dr. Mia today before, everybody started calling. I was like, I'm going to need Dr. Mia to start bumping people. Cause if she blow up over here, I'm going to need
girl, you VIP. I'm a fan.
So, all right. Well, y'all, thanks for joining us. Dr. Mia, thanks for joining us. Do you have one last thing you want to say with regards to women? Because I named this how it affects their productivity and their promotability. We already talked about the back and the whole donkey, but let's talk about that forgiveness piece. I used to walk in the room and forget why I was in there. I'd be like, why am I in here? Child, 3 times.
Yeah, I know. And it's so frustrating, so frustrating. But that's because it's time for your pellet. But my last thing is to put yourself first, invest in yourself. You're worth it. I have patients who don't do hormone pellet therapy because they would rather take care of everybody else outside of themselves. My new philosophy is I take care of myself first. I don't love anybody more than I love me. And I think I'm well worth any investment so that I can feel good and give the best to my family, the people I love, and to the world. And you cannot do that hormonally imbalanced and cray-cray.
Yep. All right, y'all. Don't jump off Dr. Mia. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us today. Your support is greatly appreciated. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. What I want you to ponder on this week: what is your greatest takeaway from this episode, and what is one action you're going to take to change your life for the better? Lastly, get your pay gap calculator to see how your pay compares to the market value of what others are getting paid. Text pay gap, all one word, to 66866. Again, pay gap to 66866, or use the link below this video or podcast. Get this insight, use it, and get paid what you desire and deserve. See you in the next episode.